This meeting will also be conducted by audio and video conference without a physically present quorum of the Rock Island City Council due to the disaster declaration issued by Governor Pritzker. Because of this order related to COVID-19 health concerns affecting the state and the city, the mayor has determined that an in-person meeting at City Hall with all participants may not be practical or prudent. All the persons and staff may not all be physically present at City Hall due to the disaster, and physical attendance at City Hall may be limited. To participate remotely during the public comment or public hearing portion of the meeting, please join by phone at 1-314-474-2113, PIN 766-065-854.
Thank you very much. Roll call.
Alderperson Robinson.
Present.
Hertz. Gilbert.
Present.
Swanson.
Here.
Parker.
Here.
Poulos. Healy.
Here.
Mayor Tomes.
Here. Thank you. Public comment. Look at the audience here, but anybody for public comment? Anybody virtually? Virtually for public comment. Seeing none, we shall move on to the presentation. Mr. Bartels.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Thank you for allowing Public Works and CED to present tonight on the downtown parking garage. As you know, that we had presented here in 2020. Some of you may or may not have been on the council at that time. But we had presented on this previously, and we didn't really ask for a recommendation or ask for direction from council. We just wanted to do an update at that time. And so we're back here today with new information, and we'll be asking for some direction on at the end of the presentation tonight. So we'll get started. Before I move on, I wanted to introduce, we have some representatives from Russell Construction in the crowd. We have Amanda Wood. She's the development manager for Russell Construction and has been my contact and CED's contact for the construction up until now. And we also have Kelly Young, who is the Director of Governmental Development for Russell Construction as well. So if you have specific questions related to the federal building, they may or may not be able to answer depending on confidentiality. I don't know that for sure, but they are here to answer questions that we may not have specific information to. So with that said, for those who weren't here at the previous study session in 2020, just a small bit of background. It was erected in 1976 at a cost of construction of a little over $2 million, and the garage has 558 parking spaces currently. So some pictures of the from the parking garage from the 2019 condition assessment report that Desmond Engineering did. You see some deterioration there on the double tree stem. You also see some concrete deterioration on a precast concrete beam. Some of these photos are recent, specifically the two pictures on the right. This was shown in the previous presentation in 2020. However, I updated it just to show the additional deterioration from when the report was done. So if you can look at the top right picture, that's a concrete precast beam, and below that, which is the second photo below that, is the crumblings that are falling off from that beam itself. So we continually sweep that debris and pick it up, usually weekly to monthly, based on how much is there. But it's a continued maintenance item. So from the previous discussion in 2020, again, it was done on September 14th. I gave an overview of the report, and the report basically said the garage was in fair to poor condition. And again, fair is the component exhibits minor deterioration and is performing its function as intended, but the component's rate of deterioration has begun to accelerate. And poor was rated as component has significantly deteriorated and or is no longer functioning as intended. And so at the time, I presented three options at the request of the city manager at the time. And option one was a full rehabilitation. So what does that consist of? It consists of structural repairs, waterproofing, and functional layout modifications. If you've ever parked in the parking garage, the access in and out, especially from, I believe, 16th Street side, is very tight. You have to take a curve, and even in my standard pickup truck, you can rub wheels, and it's tight. So that was going to be part of the correction, along with all the debonded concrete that is formed in all areas of the garage. There's concrete that's falling off that was secured to the structural steel, and all those areas needs repairs. It needs deck repairs to all levels, and about $5.2 million. And down below, you can see why I'm, the pricing in red, why it's shown that way. So back when I did this in 2020, it was around $4.5 million, and we're estimating that to be now at 5.2 with all the increases for materials and inflation. Option 2 was to address the immediate safety concerns and get a useful life of around 5 years. That was the target for option 2. The useful life for 5 years was, at the time, we did not know where the federal building was going to be placed or whether it was even going to be in downtown Rock Island. And so we wanted to look at an option that was we could pay for and get some life out of the garage, and not knowing that the courthouse was coming, or federal building was going to be coming here. So that was the reason for option 2. And option 3 was presented to demolish the parking garage and build a new one. The cost then was a little over $1 million, and the main reason why this price has increased to 2.1 is the changes to the proposed lot that we're proposing. The lot that we're proposing or recommending is a lot bigger than the original one. The previous one had 150 parking spaces. This one will have approximately 238. So the option that was presented in 2020 fit the footprint that's there now. The new option will take some of the street area and expanded that footprint. So that's the reason why the cost went up, and obviously inflation costs as well. So some of the questions that were asked in the presentation from 2020 was what future parking needs for downtown at the time, or the last parking study that we did was completed in the mid-1990s. I have not seen that study. I know Miles has read that, and he commented when the question was asked last time. But the study mentioned that parking was adequate, but not strategically placed for the entire downtown. It was also asked if the federal building location, or the federal building location was unknown in 2020, as I previously mentioned. And we were also asked if it was possible to have a private developer build retail on the first floor and parking above, similar to what you see in Davenport, Iowa. And, at the time, there was no private developer, and there still is no private developer that I'm aware of. So we basically have that same answer to that question. Continuing on with the updates since 2020, so we now know that the federal building is going to go there. The bituminous building has been demolished, and there's a space ready for that structure to go. In a couple meetings that we had with CED and Russell Construction representatives, we were trying to pin down how many parking spots they would need. And, trying to pin down the federal government is difficult. So we still don't have a definitive answer. The best we can say is they expect they could have as many as 200 to 250 visitors. That's not at one time. We don't know how many people would be riding together. There's a lot of what ifs there. But they've been very adamant to state that they want to go with the recommendation that the city of Rock Island, they want to move forward with how we decide to move forward, whether that's keeping the garage, demolishing the garage. And since I just said that, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I think the last recommendation, or the last conversation we had last week was it more favorable for them to, for security reasons, to not want to keep the garage at this point in time? Is that accurate to say?
I think
And you could come up here too.
Yeah, I hate to say, the microphone is the issue. There's people online or whatever, and then recording it. Yeah, and if you could state your name just real quick, just so.
Sure. Amanda Wood with Russell Construction, also a representative of Rock Island Investors. To Mike's point, in our conversations with the GSA, the only real feedback that we've received is that it's always a preference of the U.S. Marshals and FPS to have direct line of sight on all sides of the building. So with that, a flat lot would give them the best direct line of sight with no interferences. So that's really the most feedback that we received.
Of course, the developer could buy it and do this. No. I'm being a smart aleck.
I was thinking the same thing.
Lots for sale.
Yes, exactly. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to digress.
That's okay.
The other update was that we've put $1 million from the downtown TIF and budgeted that for that into 2022's fund improvements for the garage. Public Works and CED attended a downtown steering committee on March 15th to discuss the parking garage future and receive feedback from the committee. And you can see, overall, the steering committee agreed that investing in repairs and maintenance to extend the life of the ramp without the need for spaces at this time did not make fiscal sense. And I'm just reading these based off the information that we received. Their opinion may differ if there was a development in the works that required more spaces and justified the need for ongoing investment. They also mentioned that felt the ramp was an eyesore and unsafe. A new surface lot with signage, lighting, and green space will be an improvement to the urban landscape. They wanted to see EV charging stations be considered if the ramp was tore down and a new parking lot installed. They also felt that with rideshare service increases and automation, that the amount of physical parking will be reduced. The city of Bettendorf opted to not build a parking garage at Waterfront Convention Center and went with a service lot for those very reasons. And the Holiday Inn hotel staff believe that a service lot would help reduce instances of vandalism, including vehicle break-ins that have led to a loss of business for the Holiday Inn. The other updates, additional privately owned parking lots in the downtown that could be used by the public with a new service lot between 16 and a half and 17th Street and 1st and 2nd Avenue. That is a lot that is owned by Mount Woodman. And is available for public parking. It's not currently advertised that way, but they do allow public parking in there. The same can be said with a lot just across the street to the east and north of the alley there between First Avenue and the alley. That lot is also owned by the same business, and they do allow parking. And I think that adds to about 300 parking spaces in the downtown. The last point here is that the YWCA, as we all know, they're relocating from their current property and will not be utilizing the parking garage for employee and customer parking as well. So some of the other items that Public Works has to address quite frequently, other than overall condition for the parking garage. We have had several car vandalisms take place in the garage. And security issues. We have a homeless population that's been inhabiting the stairwells, causing cleanliness issues. You can see the picture on the right there is what we have to address quite frequently. You know, the issue with that is it's image perception. These are what people are seeing when they come and utilize that garage. We try to manage this cleanliness as best we can, but we're not there 24/7. You know, we're not there generally on the weekends, and so it's the garage, if it is used, is utilized most on the weekends. And you know, the stairway, Holiday Inn guests, they can see these type of issues quite frequently. The picture on the bottom left, that is from this year's St. Patrick's Day Parade. The garage first floor was partially full. The second and third floor was completely empty. Those vehicles you see there are actually city vehicles that are parked there. The useful life for a parking structure is 35 to 40 years with proper maintenance. The garage is currently on year 46. And ongoing unit maintenance costs and liability, that's another concern of ours as well. these are some additional photos that I took recently. And you can see, again, there's cleanliness issues. This is what you could see at any time you're going in there. Again, we try to clean this. This is not a way of Public Works saying we can't manage the cleanliness of the garage. Please don't take it that way. It's just stating that at some given time, you're going to come utilize that garage, and you are going to see something like this. That's just the way it is. So lastly, our recommendation, with all being said, is to recommend that the garage be demolished and replaced with the proposed surface lot. We know that there's a shortage of funds currently to do this, but we would hope that some type of funding, whether it be ARPA dollars or additional funding outside of ARPA dollars, be used to cover the additional cost of about $1.1 million. And the main reason that we're asking for this recommendation, or here tonight to ask for the recommendation, is the cost to extend the life of the garage and yearly maintenance does not make fiscal sense when you compare to the cost to replace it with a surface lot. The additional cost to repair the garage is $3.1 million over the demolition and new lot. So you're paying $3.1 million to rehab the garage rather than demolish it and put it in a surface lot. And your useful life is 20 to 30 years less by rehabilitating compared to putting in a new lot. In addition to that, the yearly maintenance cost for the parking garage is around $75,000 per year, or should be $75,000 per year. And the yearly maintenance estimated cost for a parking lot is about $15,000 per year. As I mentioned before, we met with the Downtown Steering Committee and had a discussion with several of the business owners, and the overall consensus was to replace the parking garage with a surface lot as well. We feel that with a new federal building being constructed and other proposed improvements in the downtown, that a new surface lot would transform this space and complement the new federal building and surrounding businesses. And I put this option in there. We have not designed or put any of this into our cost estimates for option 3 with the new parking garage, or with the new parking lot. But there could be an option to put solar over top of that garage and provide power for the EV charging stations and offset City Hall electrical expenditures. And we would discuss this with our current solar providers who we're working with for the other city facilities at this time. So this is the proposed parking lot. This is the lot that has changed since 2020. It has 238 spaces. It would have interior and exterior lighting with the lot. It's shown with 48 trees around the perimeter. I do not see 48 trees going around that lot. That seems like a lot of trees. It's almost like securing the lot from the outside world. So this is conceptual. The spots is kind of what we're looking at in the layout. The surrounding landscape can be modified. So I just wanted to put that out there. The cost for the lot is $1.6 million, and that includes a 15% contingency for overrun of the project. Also includes the engineering for the design of the project and construction, inspection, and administration for the project as well. It would be a concrete lot with 6-inch pavement, not an asphalt lot, so built to last with a long-lasting pavement. The current pricing does allow for card reader access with arms. That could be removed, or that could be left in or removed, depending on if we were going to look to charge for parking spaces and try to bring in additional revenue. But this option with the pricing that I presented of the $2.1 million does allow for mechanical arms at the entrance points. With that said, I know that was very quick. So we'll have a lot of time here to have discussion.
Just, those that have been around for a long time, just real quick, the Holiday Inn used to have a parking ramp. They did, where their parking service is, there used to be a parking ramp there, and they took it down a good number of years ago now, but.
Alderman Hurt.
I'll lead this off, I guess. First of all, my own opinion is I fully support the lot itself as opposed to the other two options. A couple questions I've got is, so when it talks about the the solar panel roofs, it says roof structure. I guess I'm trying to envision, what does that exactly mean?
Yeah,
that
so-
was
That
my
means it goes on
idea,
a
Randy.
different, what's that?
That
like
was
the
my
airport.
idea.
Airport.
Have you been
No,
up
no, I
there?
understand that, but it says roof, so you mean we're putting the solar panels on a different building feeding into that? Is that what I'm?
It would more or less be just a roof structured,
I
built
see.
over top of the existing lot with
Okay.
panels.
Just wasn't
Station
quite
on
sure,
top.
so.
Mhm.
My next thing is, would there be, and I know I've heard this from a few of the, we'll say staff people of the city, will there be parking set aside for staff in this particular lot? And I'm wondering, how is that going to work with, obviously, the parking that's going to be utilized by the courthouse, and, I mean, and Holiday Inn? What are we, I guess, how are we accommodating all three of those, if I had to break that down? Do we have any plan in place for any of that?
So at any given day, in the research that we've done, the times we've drove through the area, through the garage, we've never seen more than 60 to 70 cars. That includes all city staff, that includes the city vehicles that are in there. And so the extra 150 to 170 spots would be available for the federal building or any other patrons to come down to the downtown and park in that area. So we feel there'd be about approximately 170 extra spots available for parking.
More in detail, though, could the Holiday Inn reserve the ones that are closest to their building so that their guests don't have to walk as far? Or City Hall do the same thing, or courthouse, whatever? Would there be an option?
And they have expressed interest in leasing the closest area to their business, and we would obviously work with them to allow that.
Mike, how many spaces do they currently lease right now, Holiday Inn?
They currently do not lease any.
We just let them,
They did not renew their lease, from what I understand, after COVID.
so my thought would be, I don't know if they do valet parking, or would it be something that if we did this, it wouldn't just be free parking for that, would it? Or would we lease those spaces out?
Yeah,
and-
previously, when they did lease from us, it was based off of a rate. There was an agreement in place for that.
Okay,
And
we will
would-
check into that again, the
Yeah, and
possibility of that?
that's the way we would move forward with that.
Okay.
Set up a lease agreement with the Holiday Inn and see how many spots they would need.
Next question here. So if you were to put these EV charging stations, which I think is a great idea, have they looked into, like, how many or potential, I mean, has that even been discussed yet? Because it's so early on in
We have not looked into numbers. We're looking for more direction from the council before we start diving into those specific.
Okay, I do think
points.
that's a great option going forward, considering
We would
how
not
long this will be there.
We would not reduce what we currently have, I would say that.
There's
We
only
would-
one, isn't there?
I believe there's two.
There's one.
I was going to say,
Okay.
there's only one that's out there, I believe.
I think there,
It's one station, but it has two trucks.
Correct.
I think one of them is not.
yeah, there is that two.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
What about timing? If the council was to say, take a choice here, but if to demo it and go to the other one, what's the timing of that happening?
So next steps would be, if there was a consensus from the council to move forward with demolition, we would start the design phase for a demolition and put it out for bids. We would do that design in-house with our engineering staff, and I would say that we would be able to have that out for bids and back for proposals in front of council by August.
Do you think you can construct a new one yet this year?
A new lot?
New lot?
I believe so, yes.
It could be done by year end, I know it's.
And as far as timeline and how that would work out with the federal building, they would need to speak on a timeline, but I think you're into next year, is that, wouldn't be starting anything until '23 for construction.
Yeah, for there, yeah.
If it goes forward, where are the city staff supposed to park in the meantime?
There's lots of parking spaces available, on-street parking. What we've done in the past, outside of the 4-hour that we currently have for requirement, is issue passes for all day for staff during that time.
We could change those.
Or if a contractor's working in the downtown, we provide them parking passes to be able to park with no limit.
I don't know how full it is, but behind the county building there, we may be able to work something out with the county, too.
Oh,
Is that
there's,
full?
There's no space.
Isn't there?
Pretty full.
Yeah, that is pretty
I haven't
full.
paid attention to that, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think it boils down to, we just need to find the money, correct? I
Yeah.
mean, the numbers make sense to demolish it, to go for it. It's just, the questions are, do you pay to charge for parking? And do you pay for the EV stations? Do you,
Do you bond it? Do you use ARPA? Do you?
I mean, that's the thing. The concern I have is everyone's coming and asking for ARPA dollars. So it's,
Understood.
yeah, and I get it. It's absolutely. Can I have 5 spaces also, please? And in full transparency, I've had 3 catalytic converters stolen out of there, 2 windows broken, and had to call for homeless people in my vans, I think, 3 or 4 times. So, I mean, I absolutely would love to see it be, as a business owner as well, a complete open lot, because a lot less trouble will come from it. Is there cameras built in, or security monitoring in some aspect?
Not into our
Okay,
proposal here with this, with the parking lot and the pricing.
okay.
We would work with our IT department to implement that. At one time, Public Works put in some dummy cameras in the stairwells for $30, and they had a flashing red light
We see how
when they
that
saw
worked.
motion, and they have now been ripped down, and I don't know where they're at. So it worked for about a week, and then they were gone.
Nice.
So I have similar questions and concerns as Alderman Healy. So are you aware of any other funding sources?
I'm not aware, no.
So,
But
and you,
the issue there is, there's not enough funding in the budget to fund the rehabilitation of any type for the garage. So, we're going to we have to look for funding for any option.
well, I understand that, and I'm for demoing it and putting a new lot.
Okay.
Forget the garage, yeah, that's just a liability waiting to happen. So, and I know I had asked you this earlier, and you were going to look into the lease potential with the hotel in terms of what they've paid in the past. for
Correct.
how
And I
many
did not have
spots.
time to get to that today, but I will follow up on that.
They know.
Oh, okay, come on up.
Yeah, Tara has the exact.
Great, thank you for that.
So when Tara tells you this, keep in mind that the annual maintenance cost that Mike is assuming is about $15,000 a year.
So,
For a parking lot.
to the
for a parking lot, correct. I have an invoice from July of 2020 that said, and they would usually lease more spaces in the summertime, obviously, because they have higher traffic numbers at the hotel themselves, but the price for that month was $1,225. So,
Could you say that again?
$1,225.
Okay.
So, it was roughly a 6-month split where they had their higher number and their lower number.
15 grand a year.
That would almost cover it.
It would almost cover it, yep.
So, are there any other TIF dollars available, or did we allocate all of it? We allocated all of it.
This million comes from the TIF.
Right, I know the million comes from the TIF, but the other 1.1 million that we're looking to figure out where,
All allocated.
all allocated, okay. Can we use some of the downtown ARPA dollars we've already allocated? Did
That
we
was-
allocate, how much did we allocate?
2.5.
2.5.
That would be a discussion for the council. I wouldn't want to take away from what's already trying to be proposed, but, again, that's not I view that as not a staff recommendation. That would come from the council.
So, and we really don't know, so like, how many spaces would we have to cut if we only had so much money, I guess? would be
From the
my
parking
question.
lot proposal?
Yeah, because the original one, it was 1.1 million, right?
So I wouldn't recommend cutting spaces just to get to an affordable option. We want to have the most available for future
Right.
needs. And so, that's, I understand the
Where are we
question,
gonna-
but I
where are we
wouldn't
gonna get the
recommend that.
To me, it looks like it'd almost be zero because it was $1.1 million, I think, just to construct a brand-new one.
Yeah,
The
if-
groundwork, and so the other $1 million is just to demo it. So you'd demo it and then you'd be out of money. You wouldn't have any money left over to.
We're looking at about $500,000 to
How
demo.
much?
For demo.
500,000 to demo?
Demo it.
Correct.
and then you got grass, or even if you don't, so you-
So Mike, I remember a conversation, and Miles chime in too, where Rock Island has we offer a lot of on-street free parking in comparison to other cities. Are we the only city that's not currently charging for parking, as far as parking garage, parking lot like this?
For the garage, for parking, I know Davenport charges.
But not all the time.
Not all the time.
Not during the
Every
day,
time I've
just
gone there,
during-
they have.
Not at night, I don't.
quick.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put it,
No,
we'll talk about it
but
tomorrow.
as far as anything outside of a lot or like on street, I'm not aware of anybody that are charging
free
by
on
a
street.
meter anymore.
I think it's a slippery slope if you start charging people to get in it. I mean, I understand the revenue aspect of it, but.
I mean, either you want people to come to your city or not.
That's it.
Exactly.
And like in
Other than the
Moline,
hotel, of
there's
course.
that big lot in Moline, right across from the river,
Tax layer.
yeah, the tax layer and all that, and that's free. I mean, across from my office building to go to like Bass Street Landing concerts, that's all free.
Yeah.
Unless you park along the sidewalk, and then you can only be there 2 hours.
I'm fine with demo, new parking lot, ARPA dollars.
Yep,
I am too.
same here.
I am as
I
well.
think you gotta invest in your city. If you don't invest in your city, no one else is gonna invest in your city.
Make it look nice.
Any questions, Moses? Did you have any direction you'd like to?
I just caution us again, we're going to be piecemealing this ARPA money until we come up with a plan of what we really want to do. I mean, we're doing it now for the downtown project, we're going to be doing it for this, there's going to be something else that's going to come up. I'm all for the project, I just don't want to piecemeal it, the ARPA dollars away, and that's what we're going to end up doing, because we don't have a plan moving forward for our ARPA funds. If that's the plan, let's get the plan going with the ARPA funds, include this, so we can stop with the piecemealing.
Well, I think we've only done two things, the downtown and this, and the
I get
ARPA
it.
funds were given to the city.
I get it, but there's
So
going
we're
to be something else
investing in
that
the
comes
city.
up.
Yeah. I
There's
mean,
going to be
that's
something else that
a,
comes up. I mean, I'm for it.
Yeah.
I'm just want us to move forward with the ARPA plan, so
Right.
we can.
At this point, let me ask this question, whether it's ARPA funds or not, you're for it, so whether you bond it, sell bonds to finance it, or whatever, somehow to go do it.
I think we have to do it no matter what, because it's a liability of
That's right.
what's currently there, so we
That's
have to do it.
Yeah.
Finding the money, that's our challenge.
100%.
I would like to I don't see Linda here tonight. I would like to get some feedback from Linda on, different options for how to pay it besides ARPA dollars. And Samantha, I don't know, I don't want to put you on the spot, but, so is constructing a parking lot, is that one of the eligible things, or would that have to come under the city's $10 million lost revenue?
I would recommend that project go under the 10 million. I'm sure we could find another category for it, if we can demonstrate with census tract data and other data, that that's a negatively impacted area, and that's going to revitalize that area. We could demonstrate it there, but I think the more sensible option would be the 10 million.
thanks.
I think I would piggyback off, and I hate to say it, what Judith said about the $2.5 million in the downtown. Depending on what proposal is brought to us, I mean, that unfortunately could be a source of income.
Yeah, it could
from
be
that.
all or some.
Yeah, or
doesn't have to
it
all
could
of
be
it,
a,
just be
yeah,
some.
a portion of it.
Well, yeah, because until we hear
Yeah.
how much, or if we get any part of that grant, there's a lot of competition for that grant money, the $50 million rebuild. I mean, we may have to rethink the whole plan depending on how much money we get.
That's correct.
And Moses is 100% right. I mean,
We currently have the funds right now to demolish it, right?
We would have enough to demolish it, but not put in the surface lot.
can we start getting going with that, depending on approval? At
I would
least?
be okay with
Yeah,
that.
we would most likely want to bid both projects together.
Okay.
The demo contractor would certainly be able to install the lot. You're going to save on mobilization. And so we would put the project out for bids as one, and then see where the pricing came in and come back with a recommendation at that time.
How much of concern do you have with the safety aspect of it, though, in this current condition? How far can we go with it not being touched at all? That's my only concern.
We don't believe there's any immediate hazards.
Okay.
So, but again, we do need to move soon, and it sounds like that's what we're going to do.
We don't want to kick it down the road another, you know.
Right.
can down
The
the
condition
road.
assessment was from 2019, and so we're 3 years beyond that point.
I think the sooner we get started on.
I guess if Linda could, I don't know, like, we haven't had a updated financial report in a while, like, are revenues doing much better than expected? Like, last year, we were ahead. Now, in my mind, this would be something, okay, this is something that maybe we tap reserves for because we need to do it, and we know we need to do it, and we need it as part of the downtown revitalization. But I don't know, we haven't had an updated financial report, so I don't even know how much is even in the reserves.
Because there could be, there's a lot of different scenarios, and I think we ought to look at that. Because it could be partially from the $2.5 million we did. It could be partially from
Little
reserves.
bit here, little bit there.
Partially from ARPA.
Yeah.
You know, once again, if you start dividing it in thirds, just that way, just
Right.
throwing out there.
Yeah.
And to try to get it accomplished without really damaging any one fund, so to
Right.
speak. There's those options. So that's, I think, that the next phase is, it looks like there's consensus on the direction.
Yeah.
It's strictly just a financial now of where it comes from.
Thumbs up.
Have at it.
Okay.
Go
Well,
get it.
thank you. We'll get started tomorrow.
Okey-doke. You can start engineering it and everything else, that's for sure.
That's what I
Let's
meant.
go.
Yeah, there's no doubt you could get a kickstart on that.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Is there any other questions? Make sure I do, everybody else all right?
Yeah, no.
Thank you, Mike, for all your
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Alderperson Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
I was first last time.
Your mom.
April. Almost done.
Hertz.
All right.
Robinson, did I get a yay on that? Gilbert. Aye. Swanson. Parker.
Aye.
That look on your face is going, oh,
I was still kind of stuck on the motion. I didn't know what to
I didn't know what that
I was like, yeah, is this a motion or is this a roll call?